Welcome to Profile Pod TV. We are back for another spectacular episode of the pod. Another one here. I'm Double A, your host of the evening, man. And just wanted to real quick say that we are on the Social Nostra Network as well. And go check out the Social Nostra Network. If you're looking for a podcast, we have a variety of podcasts. You can catch us on YouTube, IG Live, and now, huge announcement, huge exclusive. I haven't even told my man right here yet. We are on Roku. If you have Roku, if you know what Roku is, it's a streaming device, you know. And we're on Pod TV. Go check out Pod TV. Not to be confused with Profile Pod TV, but Pod TV, man. So this is huge for us, huge for the network. So we're excited about that. So if you're looking for a podcast that's going to give you a lot of exposure, you want to come to Profile Pod TV as part of the Social Nostra Network. So yeah, big thing there. As we head into Roku on Pod TV, so check us out. We have another great episode, another outstanding guest for you tonight. Before we get to our guest, real quick, don't forget to subscribe on Profile Pod TV right here, and click on the logo there on the bottom right hand corner of your screen. Leave me a rate and review on Apple Podcasts. Follow us on Instagram, Clubhouse, Twitter, all that good stuff. So just to get some of those housekeeping items out of the way. So let's get into our guest of the evening, special guest of the evening. My man is a stand-up comedian. He hails out of Baldwin Park, California. He's got a great story to tell, man. He has a fascinating story. He's he's really been through some stuff in life. And he's an inspiration because now he's really, again, making waves in the stand-up comedy world, and he's a stand-up individual as well. And I'm pleased to have him here for the very first time on Profile Pod TV, right here with Double A. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Victor Zapata, aka Young Beavz Comedy.
What's cracking? Salute to everybody. Hopefully, had a beautiful day. Young Beavz Comedy, born and raised in the city, just sending much love and respect to all the raza, anybody in the struggle, anybody just out there on these platforms, man. This is the new age fucking to go. You know, if you're having a bad day, good day, you need some motivation, you just need some fucking pep in your step, you know, bam, just podcast, you know. And what better way to start off with us, you know, our culture, our raza, you know, our roots.
Man, that is absolutely, brother. I can't say that better myself, man. You know, it's a new age, right? Like you said, Victor, it's the what do they call it? The global village, bro. Global village, and man, everybody's connected now so easily, bro. So easily, man. So thanks.
Yeah. Like you know, back in the days it was yellow pages and all this shit. Like now it's all, you know, everything's technology, like boom. You know, every year I feel like we're going up one more G. It's 1G, 2Gs. Now we're at 5Gs. Like, God damn, what's next? 10Gs. They're gonna be too gangster. You know what I mean? It's crazy.
I want to see 10 G's in my bank account. I'll take that. You know what I mean?
Hey, that's what I'm trying to get. You know what I mean? Right? I'm really struggling trying to keep 1G in there. You know, everything's so expensive, man. Like, I swear to God, I put $10 of gas the other days. Like, you can't even check your fucking Instagram messages because boom, it's finished. Like, really? Like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, crazy. I know.
Yeah, money, it don't go the same no more, man.
No, man. Especially here in California, brother. But you know,
yeah, it's crazy.
But yeah, Victor, man, I want to thank you so much for being here, bro. Taking the time, man. I've been meaning. I've been looking forward to this particular episode, man, for a while. And you know, I've heard a couple of your episodes you've done on other podcasts, and yeah, man, like I said, you have a fascinating story. You've been through some stuff, man, and you know, through experience in life, you know, one gains a lot of wisdom, you know, and you learn lessons in life, man. Adversity teaches us a lot of stuff about ourselves, man. Tell us a little bit about, before we go on, Victor, tell us a little bit about yourself, man, what you're up to these days, and let the good people know, bro.
Okay, so pretty much this week on Friday, I have it's gonna be a big show. It's sponsored by Comedy Central, the Conan O'Brien show, Jimmy Fallon. So what it's like you know how they do the whole talent scout type of thing. So they're pretty much scouting for different kind of comedy because you know nowadays, like there's a lot of similar comedy. You know, there's dark comedy or like I would say like the bad day at work type of comedy. And I feel like my comedy is different because like every time I go to a show, people always think like, oh, this was gonna talk like about some stuff. But the thing is, they don't expect me to come with the background that I come with. You know, like if I talk about, let's say, keystering something, it's because I've done it. You know, or if I talk about like hiding drugs or whatever it may be. You know, I always speak from like whatever experience. You know,
Experience.
and I feel like that's what distinguishes me from other comedians, because a lot of comedians they're sitting here writing, which I don't knock that, because I feel like writing and any kind of extracurricular activity that you stick to and like pretty much follow, you get better, right? But
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
always felt that the more truthful, the more people relate. You know, it's like I always give the example. You know, when Bill Clinton got his, you know, he got hooked up in the White House.
You can
I
say it, bro. Go ahead,
sympathize.
say it, bro.
You know what I mean? Okay, when he got head, you know, I would sympathize. Like, man, he getting his dick sucked. Like, hell yeah, I'm getting my dick sucked too. You know, like I feel like we can relate to these people, and I feel like that's why, you know, the media does that, because they want us to be like, oh man, he's just like me. You know, like that was over there getting caught cheating just like me. And I feel like that's what people want to hear. You know, and it's cool for different aspects, but I mean, I've tried different styles of comedy, and like I it just didn't feel like me. I felt too robotic, or I just felt fake, and like I felt like it wasn't coming out naturally. So now I just, whatever's on my mind, you know, if I'm having a bad day at work, or if, you know, whatever the case may be, if I'm acting crazy with my kids, or my kids are giving me a hard time, you know, because I have two daughters, you know, whatever it is, I just let it flow from that, you know, and
Yeah, yeah.
it works out.
You said you have 3 daughters?
I have two daughters.
Oh,
Yes,
two.
Divine
Okay.
and Maya. Yes.
I was okay. I have 3 daughters, so I was like, oh, hey,
Yeah. So
I
you
feel
already
you.
know we're on the same boat. Yeah, with the daughters,
Really.
it's like when they were little, I could, you know, rest them like little homies and stuff. But now they're big, and you know, I'm just like, God damn, man, you need to stop growing, man.
I
But
know,
it's cool
man.
though. Like, right? It's a cool experience, man. Totally different.
I know, man. I think sometimes I think like, God, why did you give me? I mean, yeah, I was like,
Yeah, man. Because you know
man,
they say that, and I'm like, damn.
why did you do
But
this to me?
I mean, it's cool. I mean,
Uh,
I can't compare it to nothing. I can't compare being a parent to anything. You know, like I've
no.
had, you know, like party scenes. I've lived in a lot of crazy environments, and you know, sometimes like the other day we were playing miniature golf, and I'm like, damn, I would have never pictured myself like all banged out, because I still dress like a homie, you know, because I feel like I embrace my culture. It's
Uh,
who I am, you know. And I'm over here playing miniature golf and shit, trying to make it into a Ferris wheel or something, you know. But it's cool though. It's. I feel like it's me, you know, and it's where I should be.
absolutely, absolutely, man. Hey, tell me, how did you get the name Young Beavz, man? What is
Okay, so the whole name, my actual gang name, that's my gang name, is
oh, man.
Beaver. So I got the name because when I was growing up, my uncle, he's my mom's like they're cousins, but you know how in Mexico they say primos hermanos.
Yeah.
So they're primos hermanos, and my uncle used to always call me Beaver. So my mom and everybody, all my family started calling me that. And you know, growing up, I was like, "Fuck, that's an ugly ass name. Like, I don't want that shit." You know, not even as a family name. And when I started kicking it with my homies when I was like 11, 12 years old,
Uh,
my homies, because I was trying to be like Sharky or Goofy or like something cool. You know, like homies want like a cool name, you know, because that's gonna be you forever, you know.
yeah,
And
I hear you.
when people started hearing other people calling me Beaver, they're like, "Hey, what's up, Beavs?" And I'm like, "Oh man, this is some bullshit," but it stuck, you know. And what's weird is that you don't really run into that many Beavers. I run into like Beaver from Playboys, Beaver from Colton, and for some reason, when you run into somebody else named Beaver, like
Uh,
it's kind of weird, but I feel like you've sympathized. Like, damn, we both got that fucked up name, huh?
d-
And
d-
they'll be like, "Yeah, what's up?" And we become close, you know. It's
oh, no
crazy.
shit. Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's
They
cool.
didn't feel the
It's
same way.
like a little beaver. Yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah,
cool.
Beaver fraternity. Yeah, like a little exclusive
Yeah, exactly. You know,
club,
it's
man.
cool. It's, you know,
Because there's not that many, like you said, there's not that many. So when you
in
do
my
meet
whole life,
one,
I only yeah. In my whole life, I only met Beaver from 22nd, Playboys, Cam, maybe like five. My whole life.
okay, yeah, that's
Yeah,
that
it's
dude.
not that
That's
many. Yeah,
no,
that's pretty exclusive. You know, we the elite. You know what I'm saying?
no, exactly,
But
exactly.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's cool though. You know.
yeah, man. So your story begins in Baldwin Park, man. You grew up in Baldwin
Yeah.
Park. Tell us a little bit. What was it like growing up there in BP, man?
So pretty much like I was born in LA, but I was raised in Baldwin Park, you know. And
Uh-huh.
like I was always exposed to like because you know the 90s, like late 80s, early 90s, everybody was all into that homie thing. Like
Oh
it was
yeah.
the thing, you know, to be your
It's-
homie, you know, like really there wasn't no like now they have emos and goth and I mean they had
no.
it, but it wasn't really trending as much as just being a homie. And plus it was around everywhere, you know, every street corner there was a hood or and not even
Yeah,
hoods, but there was like just like a little block of set of people, you know.
for
And
sure.
yeah, so like I said, I was exposed to that at a young age, and like at a young age, I knew I wanted to be a homie. Like it, and it sounds kind of ignorant to say, but I mean now I don't trip on it, you know, because I embraced it. But back then it was like, man, I want to be a homie. Like just the idea of being part of something greater than me, you know, something that like where you feel belongs, like you feel respected, you feel like just a sense of camaraderie and family, you know, which because most of us don't come from that good
Mm.
family environment, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Was that all you like? I mean, you were around that activity and that environment. I mean, is it safe to say that's? I mean, that's pretty much all you knew growing up.
Yeah, so pretty much when I was young, that was pretty much it, you know, because all my cousins are from, if it wasn't from my neighborhood, they were from a different neighborhood, like 18th Street, MS, Temple Street, you
I
know. So
see.
like I was exposed to that young, you know, and
Oh yeah.
it didn't seem like out of the ordinary, you know, people dressing like homies or tattoos, you know, people were scared, but like me at a young age, like let's say, like my daughter's 10, 11, I was already like, oh, I want to be a homie, you know.
I
And
see.
it's a dumb way of thinking, but you know that's how we used to think, you know.
Right, right,
And
right,
our
right.
brains were wired like that, you know. It's not only me, but plenty of other kids that grew up like me, you know.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Did you go through high school? Were you still in Baldwin Park going through high school?
Yeah, so I never really went to high school or nothing like that. I actually just I started getting busted when I was like maybe 11, 12ish. And
Uh-huh.
because like I said, I was always kicking it, you know, I was always kicking it with, wasn't with my cousins, I was kicking it with my homies, you know. And like I said, most of all my homies, like I'm from a small neighborhood, I'm from Baldwin Park, and there's different sides, but my side is small. Like we're very, like, you know how there's other gangs that they don't know each other's homies and they're like, oh, I think I know him. Like people
Yeah,
that are from my neighborhood, like I know you. Like if you know me, I know you, you know.
for
Or
sure.
either I went to school with your mom or your cousin. We're a very small, tight knit community, you know.
Gotcha,
So
gotcha.
yeah, so I mean I grew up in that neighborhood and I never really went to school too much because I was always kicking it with my homies, and mainly it was because of my family, my parental structure. My home was real strict, you know, because they seen who we were around and they didn't want us to be like that. You know how most parents are like, oh, I'll beat his ass. Because, you know, as a kid, that
Yeah,
was normal. Nowadays, you can't do that. It's like child abuse. But
right.
back in my days, you're getting fucked up, you know? So we
Right.
got fucked up. So at a certain age, I was like, you know what? If I'm going to get spanked, I'm just going to fucking not come home for like 2 days. So that's what
Oh,
started making me be like, fuck that. You know, I'm going to get fucked up no matter what. And little by little, I feel that I became more like just entwined in that life, you know. And I
yeah.
felt and I can't say fell victim to it because it was something that I walked in willingly.
You
And
chose it. You chose it.
exactly, I could say unknowingly because I didn't know the consequences were to that extent and they were that severe, you know. Because as an
Uh-huh.
11-year-old kid, you're partying, you're drinking beer for the first time. That's when I was exposed to that. By the time I was 12, going 13, I was in and out of juvenile hall, foster
Uh,
placement, and then I head to and it's weird because anybody who's been in these institutions know that each phase, it's a different phase in what's gonna mold you to what I describe as the person you're eventually gonna be. You know, whether it's a drug user for life, a gang member for
mm,
life, psychopath, whatever. You could be a success story. But I feel like these phases are what make you who you are, you know.
no
And I
doubt. No
went
doubt.
from I went from juvenile hall, which was just all fighting and really no structure, no direction, to camp where it was more disciplined, more the staff controlled it. And like I said, I kept going in and out of jail. But it was a lot of it was my fault, but a lot of it wasn't my fault because it was, you know, as you know, we the society that we grew up in, as whether you want to describe yourself or or be able to label yourself as Mexican, Latino, Hispanic, whatever you want to pretty much tag yourself to be, or claim your ethnic race to be.
Right.
We were singled out, because my generation was what I call the Pete Wilson generation. This was the
Oh yeah.
generation exactly that
90s.
was getting struck out like at 13, 12, 14,
Right,
and
right,
that's
right.
what happened to me. I got my first strike as a kid. And
Yeah.
what's crazy is that when you're a kid, they don't explain you this shit. They don't tell you that this is gonna haunt you for life. They don't tell
No.
you that it's gonna pretty much like gonna start a cycle that's so hard to break. Because that's one thing I noticed for my entire life. I'm already 38 years old and I'm still on parole and probation, and I got
Mm.
on that shit when I was 12. And
Wow. Yeah.
like I said, I don't blame nobody but myself, but I do acknowledge now that it was like a setup, and if I was smarter like I am now back then, I would make different choices. But at the end of the day, it's like I had made that choice to be that. And I mean, it just took me to different phases of the whole jail system. Like I said, I went to YA was a crazy experience for me, because that's when I was really exposed to like race on race, like fighting,
Right.
a lot of like foul, like cop on inmate beatings. There was a lot of like predator sexual like acts going on, people
Right.
getting violated,
Damn.
and as a kid, you don't imagine that, and that's one thing I always tell kids now, like, man, be grateful that you didn't go through that, because this kind of shit like fucks up a lot of people. I know a lot of homies that I was in YA with to this day that fucking still use because of the trauma they endured, and
Oh
it's not about
man.
being weak-minded, it's just about coping with it different, how it is,
Definitely. Yeah. No, no.
but yeah, I mean, I pretty, yeah.
You know what's
So
interesting?
like I said, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, Victor. No, no. I was going to say,
No,
man.
go ahead, go ahead, continue.
Yeah, yeah. I know. What's interesting is that you grew up in your parents were together, right?
Yeah.
Two parent home,
So I mean, there's
and
more to it, but it was like I was raised in a home that it was a dysfunctional home, but like I said, I never really put light on it, or because I can't say it was the worst of homes, but it was in aspect. It did take part of why I became the way I become. And like I said, there's
mm,
certain things that I never touched on, because like that's like I know that's certain things lead back to my upbringing,
I see.
but
I
it's
see.
like, how they say when you go to therapy, I
Uh-huh.
would always trip out because they would tell me in therapy like, hey, this leads because of your real, because I don't have a dad. I was raised by a stepdad, and there was a lot of conflict between me and that whole remarriage thing, and just
Oh
because
yeah,
you
yeah,
feel
yeah.
like you're not treated the same, you know what I mean?
I get it,
And you're
man.
not in some aspects. You know what I mean? And like I
Right,
said,
right.
I don't shine light on it, because I don't ever want people to blame my parents for the way I turned out, because at the end of the day, I committed those crimes. I did those
Mm,
things I did,
yeah.
and they just did the best they could, and that's why I always tell people, because a lot of therapists would be like, oh, that's your parents' fault, like they did you like that. But in
Mm,
reality, it is. But I feel like at the end
to a
of the day,
certain
I'm the
extent.
one that exactly. You can't sit here and blame these people, because parents only parent a child the way they know. And if who has all the answers? Nobody has the answers.
No,
They were just
no.
trying to keep me off the streets.
Yeah, no, no doubt, Victor. I hear you, man. I hear you. So now, all those experiences, man. You were in the system, or you were incarcerated about 20 years, right? Grand total,
20 plus, yeah.
20
So
plus.
total is like 20 plus, yeah. Because I went
Yeah.
to I went to YA, I went to county, I went to prison, and like I said, it's like something that it's sad, but I strive to be that person, like, because I felt like that was my calling, I felt
You
like
were
when you
all
find,
in. You were
yeah,
totally
yeah,
committed.
exactly,
You were all in. Nobody was going to
exactly.
tell you differently, right?
No, and it's weird because I would see people go into the system struggle with like addictions, and the thing is, I have problems too, but I'm very discreet about my problems. And I would be like, damn, how is it that I'm not in that situation? So little by little, what they say is like, whatever you do repeatedly, you become a master. You become like a master of your craft, and for
Yeah.
years manipulating the system, manipulating people, committing crimes, or just different kinds of criminal like elements. That's what I lived on. I lived by a certain code. And like I didn't see nothing wrong with it, because how they say that some people find peace in the midst of chaos, and that was me. I was never pressured. I never felt like, oh my God, I always thought like, what, I got this, I gotta step back. And it just seemed natural to the point where I could comfort somebody and be like, hey, my boy, like, don't trip. I know you're a little panicked. Like, look, this is gonna stay between us. Like, I got you, fool. Like, we'll go take care of
Yeah.
this. And I learned little by little how to be better at what I did, and it's fucked up, but in reality, like, I don't regret it. Like I said, I and on my podcast, I always tell people, like, I don't regret what I went through or what I did, for the simple reason that, what, I don't feel it was something bad. I mean, it was a waste of time in an aspect where, yeah, I didn't get a degree, yeah, I don't get no benefits, I'm not collecting social security off these years I spent in prison. But you know
Mm.
what? Like, it kept me alive. A lot of my
Wow.
homeboys or friends are super doped out right now, or fucked up in the head, or can't deal with life. And even though I have my insecurities and my fears, I know how to deal with life. I can dust myself off and pick myself up. And at the end of the day, it gave me a sense of being humble. It gave me a sense of taking pride in my culture. And just like, I'll give you an example. When I go to work every day, I might have the shittiest day in at home, but the minute I get off my car, it's like game face. You know what? I'm not gonna go out there and take it on somebody. I'm just gonna be like, hey, how you guys doing? Buenos
Yeah.
dias, buenos dias. That all comes from being in prison.
Mm.
Being under a certain, like, let's say, magnifying glass where somebody's watching you. And you know
Right.
how they say the more you practice something, the more it becomes a part of your persona. So that's why, even though I'm on high alert for like fake people and different shit, i
Yeah.
i can sense when a person's real. And at the end of the day, I always offer everybody my genuine, like, opinion. Like, hey, are you good? You're going through some stuff. If somebody messages me, whether it's on Instagram, Facebook, whatever, I always message back, hey, how you doing? Are you good?
Yeah.
And that all comes from respect. When you're in jail, you're locked down 23 hours. And if somebody has movement, real homies will check up on you and be like, hey, homie, are you good in there? Like, you need anything? Like, and I feel like the overall idea is good. We can use it in a positive way, and that's what I do now. I
Absolutely, man.
preach it. I preach it in a different way.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I appreciate the way you framed it, man, because you've been through some adversity. You've been through a lot of adversity in your life.
Yeah, a lot.
And you have every excuse to say, you know what, F this,
Fuck everybody. Fuck
F
the
the
raza.
world.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. And I
but you know
don't.
what?
I don't.
At the end of the day, yeah, you're continuing to um, you know be positive. You're moving
Yeah.
forward, and you know, what do you think though, Victor? What was that moment, man, where you just really said, man, I need to turn my life around. I need to get into myself together. Talk a little bit about that moment, or was it kind of a gradual process for you?
I I,
Um,
I feel
how
I
was
like
that?
okay, so what I believe as like I always talk to people, whether it's like in prison, on the streets, at the workplace, even if it's my kids. I always tell people, learning is not something you just stop. I feel like your entire life you're gonna be
Yeah.
learning. And I feel, I love reading, I love quotes, and there's a quote that I read that says, I don't fear a man who practices 1,000 kicks. I fear a man who practices one kick 1,000 times. So what I got out of that quote is the fact that you can practice electricity, you can practice psychology, you can practice, a bunch of different things, whether it's religion, whatever you want to practice. But
Uh-huh.
if you don't really like apply yourself to it and live by it, then it's like it's pointless. How they say, sharpen the knife 1,000 times and then just cut once instead of
Yep.
cutting 1,000 times and sharpening it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
that's what I feel. That's how I always looked at life. And I
Uh,
apply it to my kids. Like, I tell them, my daughter, she just had a thing at school, right? And she's like, I hate history and all this, right? And I was like, you know what? If you don't acknowledge that history, even though it's not you know, because I don't have nothing against white people or no other race, but I do feel that as let's say Latino community, you know, if we want to just throw it out there like that, like as a Mexican culture or our cultura, I feel
Yeah.
like we don't get enough light
Hmm.
shed on our culture. You know, I feel, and you know, my daughter was asking me about that. You know,
Oh
she's like,
wow.
"What does that history have to do with me?" And you know, it
Uh,
was about the whole railroads and all that, right? And I
yeah.
told her, did you know that a lot of those railroads were built by us,
Yeah.
Latinos?
Uh-huh.
Latinos
No doubt.
came to the United States, exactly, and they were fucking working out there, you know. And there was these other races that were getting paid more money, and we were fucking doing all the work, you know. And it's fucked up. And even to this day, we're still in that vicious cycle. But it's not that we're
Yeah.
ignorant or we're dumb or we work for less. It's just the fact that we're a very humble, a very humble culture that's eager to excel. And you know, like I
No
always,
doubt.
yeah, I always tell people, you know, they say, you know what, you know, these other races go to college and they get educated, whatever. That's cool. You know, we need education. Knowledge is power. But I admire a man, let's say, who starts from the ground up as a paletero, because a paletero, let's say, is gonna strive harder than
Yeah.
somebody who's sitting at home, living with his parents, you know, worry free, bill free. You know why? Because he has that enabled. He's enabled. A person who has nothing is
Yeah.
gonna work harder. You know, he's not gonna take no as
Absolutely.
an answer. You know, and I admire people who strive. I don't knock nobody. I don't hate on nobody. If you're succeeding, hey, more power to you. You know.
100%, bro. 100%.
Oh yeah.
I wanted to get your opinion on something, Victor. Like, so I've met individuals who grew up in the hood and they lived
Yeah.
in whatever it was, right, in
Hmm.
environment, and they kind of stayed out of that lifestyle, man. What's your opinion on that situation, bro? On that scenario, what do you think
Like
is the
staying away
difference?
from it, like getting away.
Completely away from it, they go on to college, they go on
Yeah,
have
yeah.
completely
I
different life. What's your
more
opinion
power
on
to
that?
them.
Mhm.
I admire change. You know why? Because like I've always told people, they'll be like, oh, you know, only suckers change, and you only suckers look for God. And in reality, I always tell them, you know what, the real suckers is somebody who's scared of change. Like me, I admit it, I am scared of change. You know why? Because majority of us as men, we don't want to change. Like we don't want to get our comfort zone. You know, like I like
Yeah.
wearing Levi's because I know I look good in Levi's. I want to wear pro clubs. I like looking bald. Like I'm scared to do a fucking comb over, and that's me as a man admitting it,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
and it's just the way that I feel like our mind is wired. And when I see people who, like my homeboy, I just ran into my homeboy Flacco at Disneyland. He had a fucking X-Men shirt and a fucking comb over, and he looked at me, he's like, "What's up, my boy?" And I told him, more power to you. That's fucking credit. Though I give those credit, they are changing.
Hmm.
Because even though I'm gradually changing, it just everybody changes at their own pace. And if you
Uh,
could find God, if you could find a career, if you want to go to school, more power to you. Because like I said, knowledge is power. Our education should be like on the top of our list. And the thing is, most people get it messed up to where they feel like, oh, I gotta go to Stanford, which is cool. Go to Stanford, but
right,
you
right, right.
could learn the same shit at a community college. You could learn. It's like there's a saying that's in prison that says it's not where you've been, it's what you learned. And I feel like even though that's a jail philosophy, it applies to life, because you could come from wealth, but you could be poor as fucking in
Yeah,
mentality. You
yeah.
could be poor as fucking in mentality, but you're wealthy in here. And that's what we give our kids. Like I think about that every day. Like what legacy am I gonna leave from my daughters? Like are they gonna look back and be like, he was a good man, he was a good father? Like those are the things I think of. And I feel like we all have to think about that.
Oh yeah, man. No, that's a great point, man. You just said something that really just hit me, man. Because someone could be wealthy on the outside and just
Yeah.
completely, you know, dark on the inside, man, and going through
That,
shit. And what happens in your mind, I think is that the mind is so powerful, man. So
it is.
powerful. I think
We
it really.
underestimate it too.
What's that?
We underestimate our mind. Like that's one thing I learned is I even tell my kids, like, like you, whatever you think, you become. You're a product of your thoughts. And like years
Exactly.
ago I read a book It's called Thoughts Become Things. And the first
Mm.
time I read this book, I was like, this is stupid as fuck. This is dumb as fuck. I threw it. But once I picked it up again and I started reading, I was like, man, it's real.
Hell
Because
yeah.
if you think you're no good or you're worthless, you become worthless. There's a
You are what
book
you
that
put
I
in your mind.
read. Like I said, I love reading. Exactly. And I love to read. And
Oh yeah.
how everybody, like right now, I feel like I live okay, right?
Mm-hmm.
And but we all say, like, one of my sayings, if you know me, is like, man, I can't wait to win the lottery. I can't wait to stumble on that money, right? I say that joking around, but because I feel like I said, I read this book, right? And it really soaked in, because when I read it, it said, you know what, if they were to get all the money in the world, right, from all the millionaires, all the wealthy people, Bill Gates, all these top dog vatos, right, and they were to give it to all the middle class and all the poor people, all that money, no matter how long it took them to get it from them to us, it would wind up in their hands again, because they already know the medicine, like the pretty much the recipe for success, and we don't know
Yeah.
it. We'll
Yeah.
squander it away on bullshit, and they'll get it again. So it's weird how they pretty much said in that book that all the money would end up in their hands again. It's crazy.
Yeah, man. That's interesting, man. It's
Yeah.
that's why they're. I mean, yeah, I hear you, man. I hear you,
You know what I mean?
but yeah, man. With everything that you've been through, man, and now, you know, you're working. You got your family,
Yeah.
and now you're doing stand-up comedy, man. You're doing
Yeah.
stand-up comedy, bro.
It's crazy.
Tell us, how in the heck did you get into that world, bro?
Like,
Tell us that.
it's weird. Like, okay, so pretty much, like I said, I've always had a sense of humor, because like I said, I come from jail, and when you have nothing, you always look for the bright side. Like, let's say if you just get one bologna, you're like, fuck it, it's less fat for me. You always look for something positive, and I
I love
carried
that. I
that,
love how you spin it.
right. You know what I mean?
Always.
Like, yeah, like most people be like, oh fuck, man, I only got one cookie, but then you're like, fuck it, you keep diabetes away. So
Yeah,
you
there you
little by
go.
little, yeah. So long story short, like, I always had a good sense of humor. Growing up, my kids have my sense of humor. Like, everybody who knows me knows I always joke around. So at work, I fuck around a lot. I always joke around with my coworkers. Yeah, because I feel like you're there 8 hours. So might as well kill time.
You gotta have
So
some fun,
long
man.
story short, I'm at work, and they signed me up for open mic, and I don't even know, right? I go to this open mic, and it's at the Sunset Room, and they call my name, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, why are they calling my name? And they're like, go. So I go up, and then I just fell in love. I fell in love with just the reactions of people, and people are like, man, how are you making all them funny stories up? And I'm like, that's
But
real shit. Like,
you just jumped on stage, Victor?
yes. I had
Eh,
never been on stage in my life. I've never done nothing, and they
so
called my name, and I was nervous. I was like, fuck.
what did you talk
But
about? Like, how did that go down, man?
so my
Tell us
my
about that.
first jokes that I started talking about was because, like, how I said I had been in jail for a long time. So when I got out to the whole social media thing. Everybody was on fucking Facebook and Tinder, and I'm just like, I couldn't
Wait,
keep up with all these apps.
what
You
year
know,
did you get out? I'm sorry.
I got out in 2014.
Okay. Okay. So
Yeah, so
go
the
ahead. Go
internet
ahead.
was booming. Everything was like Tinder and fucking plenty of fish, and I'm just like, god damn, like, fucking Christian Mingle. I'm not gonna lie, it sounds funny, but I was on all those dating sites. Blackpeoplemeet.com. I was trying to hook up. Hell yeah, I was on all that
There you
shit.
go. All
Fucking
right. I ain't know you.
farmers.com, fuck it.
I ain't
I was
mad
on
at you,
all that
bro.
shit. Hell yeah. But like, I fell in love with the stage. I fell in love with the stage. I fell in love with it
Oh.
became like a drug, like the people laughing and like, oh my God, it's so funny. And what really made me trip out more was because, like I said, I talk like a homie, I kick it like a homie, like I do everything I say, like if I say I'm partying, I party. And when I go to clubs, people always think, because there's people who act like that, like a character, right? And like I said, no knocking to nobody, but it's like me, I'm really living that shit. Like, I'm out there partying, I'm doing all that shit. And they think it's a character, and I'm like, it's not a character. Like, bitch, I'm really on pro. And they'll be like, stop, you're not on pro. And I'll be like, real shit though. Like, you need to hide that container. I'm on parole. Like, we're going to jail. You fucking get caught with that shit. But
uh,
it was cool. So I got into the whole comedy thing,
wow.
and
That was it, huh?
yeah, it just took off,
From
man.
that
And
from
I've
that
only
point on, you're like, I want to do this again. I want.
Yes, I just wanted more, more, more.
Wow,
And
very cool.
I got a chance to do big venues like the Comedy Store, Laugh Factory. I've done the Ice House. I've done fucking Terra Improv. I got to hit a lot of spots, you know,
Okay.
and I got to meet a lot of comedians, and it's crazy because it's like a little culture within itself, you know. It's crazy. It's like their own little government they have within themselves, and it's
Uh,
cool. You know, it's like everybody knows everybody, and I feel like as long as you're humble and you willing to work with people, people will fuck with you. You know, whether you're black,
yeah.
white, whatever. If you're funny, funny is funny. You know.
Yeah, no doubt, bro. No doubt, man.
Yeah.
So who are some influences then, man,
So
for
pretty much
as far as
with the
stand-up
whole
comedians?
yeah. So as far as like stand-up comedians, like I've always like people always go. I love like pretty much my culture, but like my really person that I look up to a lot would be
Uh-huh.
like Dave Chappelle. I love his style, you know,
Oh yeah.
because it's he's a funny ass motherfucker, right?
He is, yeah,
But
no
as
doubt.
far as like our culture, like Gilbert Escobillo, I like his style too. It's cool. He's a homie. Like the stuff he talks about, I like it. You know, there's different people that I like. I listen to it because that's what I do. I like to listen to different comedy styles, and there's people
Okay.
from Texas. There's different. Johnny Villarreal. You know, I listened to him before. Juan
Okay.
Villarreal. He's like an old
Okay.
school
Yeah,
comedian.
yeah.
I don't know if you heard of him from
I heard
Texas.
of Juan Villarreal. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, Juan Villarreal. So
yeah.
Juan Villarreal, he's from Texas and he's just like me. Like I've heard him, and he's a hood motherfucker, just like me. He goes back to his hood, kicks it in. You know, he's
Mm-hmm.
like cool, which I
Uh-huh.
can relate to. But I'm just thinking like, okay, I like his style, but I want it to be my style too, but just different. You know, like I don't ever want to copy somebody. You know, so I just listen to stuff and I'm like,
Sure.
okay, like that's a good topic, or you know, because comedy the way it is, it's like a gun. You know, you could put different kind of bullets in a gun, but it's how and who's shooting that gun that pretty much
Uh,
makes it land. You know, because you could have a good ass joke written by somebody that's super fucking funny, but if you're not funny, it's gonna sound like shit. You know, I
you,
feel like
you got to be able to
like that.
deliver that joke,
Exactly. Because
right?
I've said some funny shit, and then like I'll try to deliver it, and it just didn't sound right. Or, but the good thing that I have is like from being in jail, I can look at like I'll scout the crowd, and I'll be like, okay,
Uh,
there's a lot of black people, so let's do something where we can both relate. There's a lot of
I
white
see.
people, let's do I'll work the room or just different stuff, you know. And
Yeah,
I'm,
yeah.
like I said, I'm not a master at it, but I'm getting better, and I love doing it. You know how they say love what you do, and you'll never work another day in your life. You know, that's my
Exactly.
dream. That's my goal. You know,
100%, man. What are um what are some of the so what advice would you give to a aspiring stand-up comedian, man? Someone who wants to get into the game. They want to, they're hungry, they're motivated. What would you tell that individual, man?
I
What going into
I
it?
I would say never give up, never give up, and keep at it. And the thing is, I feel like go out there, go every chance you can, go to an open mic. You know, when I first started, that's where I used to go. I used to hit open mics everywhere.
Mm.
San Bernardino, the Marquis. I would hit, you know, the Hideaway Cafe in Riverside, and these are like totally out of my ordinary kind of kick your spots.
I
But I
like
met
that,
a lot
man.
of good, you know, I met a lot of good people, and you know, like I love the fact that well, I mean, I've always been like that. I've always been somebody that's not scared to get out of my comfort zone. You know, so if I don't know somebody, I'm like, hey, how you guys doing? My name's Victor. My name's Young Beavz. Mucho gusto.
I
And I
love that,
feel like,
bro.
yeah,
Love
yeah.
that.
So I say to anybody who's trying to be into the comedy game, be prepared for a drive. You know, just imagine driving to Vegas with so much gas. Like you only have this much gas. Make sure that you minimize your stops. Prepare a good fucking like starter kit, and never stop learning and socialize, network. I think that's the number one thing, and just find
Wow.
yourself. I always tell comedians, like, find yourself, whether it's like a character you want to be, you want to wear a beanie over your head. There's a lot of homies that are funny like that, there's a
Uh-huh.
lot of homies that emphasize our culture, and even if, or even puppets. You want to use fucking puppets, use a fucking puppet. You want to talk about socks, talk about socks. But find your niche. That's what I say.
Uh,
Find it and just don't stop. and get ready because there's gonna be a lot of fucking haters. There's gonna be a lot of negative people. But look at it like that means you're doing something good. Because
Yeah.
I've only been doing this for like less than 3 years, and
Wow.
I've met a lot of good people. I've there's been a lot of good doors open for me, and I stay humble, man. Like I still eat at the same spots. I still say over to my homies. I still flick it up. Like I feel like that's where we're at, and I feel like honest, like I'm saying, since we're talking about it, like
Hmm.
I feel like my story can transcend. I can be one of
No.
those
Yeah.
like you said, yeah, right. Like because like I was in jail so many years, so I feel like I can use my experience because that's ultimate. Like because we're talking about like we had talked about goals and all that. My
Hmm.
ultimate goal is because like I said, I've always been who I am and I'll always be who I am. Never gonna change it because people have told me, hey, tone it down, don't drink like that, don't party like that, or you made a fool out of yourself in that podcast, and I'm like, you know what? I want people to see that I'm gonna make an ass out of myself just like they did. Sometimes
Uh,
I drink too much, sometimes you drink
yeah.
too much. Like I don't
Right.
ever want people to think I'm perfect. You know why? Because then they're gonna have so high expectations that the minute that something happens, boom, let's drop that boom. I
I
want
mean,
people to accept me and embrace me for who I am.
you're just a
And
human
if
being, right? Yeah.
exactly. I don't want you
I
guys to
mean,
think I'm fucking some kind of superhero. I'm a regular homeboy working a regular job with a fucking. You know how they say I'm a ordinary person trying to do extraordinary things.
yeah.
And like they say, it's just a little extra that's gonna make the difference.
You
And
know,
yeah, go ahead.
no, I was gonna say that exact quote. You know who said where I remember Bernie Mac. You know Bernie Mac.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, Bernie Mac, yeah,
I read that once. He said
funny
that
ass
one.
fool.
Yeah, rest in peace, right? And he said, "I'm just an
Yeah, yeah, he was a
extraordinary
funny ass
man."
motherfucker.
Yeah, he was. Oh, he was one of the greats, right? Hall of Famer. He
Exactly,
said
Bernie
it's just
Mac. All these
that.
guys, they were good.
Yeah, he said, I'm an ordinary man
Ordinary man
with an
in a
extraordinary job." He was
exactly. And
humble,
and it's
man.
the best job you could think of. I actually met a comedian and he was a real famous guy. And he told me, you know what? Uh, there's doctors that do heart surgery. They say, damn, I could never do your job. And the homie Gilbert was like, I'm a comedian. Anybody could say, do my job. But he goes, you save lives. And they told the homeboy Gilbert, like, you save lives too. Laughter saves people.
Yeah,
And yeah,
man.
yeah. And it
That's
sucks because
great.
not
That's
right.
powerful,
Like,
powerful. Yeah.
yeah, in our society, we're getting too sensitive. We're getting too soft. Like, it's fucked up. You can't talk about nothing because you get banned. You get 86, and it's it's
Right,
a
right.
it's a it's a. I mean, I get it. We have to have certain boundaries, but I feel like in comedy, we should be able to make fun of ourselves or certain
Oh
things
yeah.
we can relate to, right? Because that's the point of being human, being able to laugh at our own mistakes.
100%, brother. 100%. What are some struggles that you mentioned a little bit that you know when you're in the game, when you're coming up, you're gonna have adversity, you're gonna have challenges.
Oh yeah,
Talk a little bit about some of those adversity, some of those issues you've had, man, some challenges you've had coming up
yeah.
in the game, Victor.
So coming up in the whole comedy game or just even like just like I said, I'm not a big name like that, but I've done big shows and
Right,
been on
right.
different platforms. And what messes me up is that like I said, I'm an everyday guy. Sometimes I like to party with the homies and kick it, and I forget, and that's my number one fucker. But I'm focusing more on it now. But sometimes you get a couple shots in you, and you're like, fuck it, let's do this. And I've been caught on camera over drinking, or there was a certain spot or situation where they were like, hey, like, and you have to remember that you have promoters, and these people will cut you off. Obviously, like I can't talk about who cut me off and all that, but there
Yeah.
were certain things that I did that they'll be like, hey, you know what? Like, we can't fuck with you no more. Like, out the back, they won't fuck with you. I've been thrown
Uh,
out of clubs. Like, I did a show at the Scientology Center.
uh-huh.
Like, they literally threw me out. Like, the promoter was like, what the fuck you doing with my comedian? Like, he's one of my guys. They didn't even let me, like, they were like, get out. And there's been, like, I've did a show at
Wow.
the Hard Rock Cafe. Same thing. The thing is, I used to do drugs. So I went on stage and I was talking about like smoking crack and smoking, partying with hookers or whatever, just whatever it is. just pretty much like telling the story of how I used to party. And
Okay.
the guy was like, "Oh my god, bro, you're fucking funny as fuck. Ooh, ooh. But we can't have you come back." And I'm just like, "Why?" He's like, "Yeah, well, it's just the way you look and what you're talking about could offend somebody, and we can't take that chance. You know, like
Oh
it's
gosh.
crazy." And these are big dogs, like these are big names. And I'm like, you know what? It's all good. You know,
Wow.
like my struggle is I'm not a clean comedian, and a clean comedian could sit here and do a clean set. I've always struggled because like I said, I'm hood, and I mean, I
Yes.
want to one day be able to do that, but that's what gets me in trouble is my mentality, you know, because I take too much shots sometimes, or I might be dancing on stage or just doing some stupid shit, you know, because that's how I grew up, you know, that's how
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
party.
You just
But
you're just a real dude, man.
yeah, I'm
You
just a
just
real guy having a good time, you know.
you're not gonna fake the funk, man. That's
Right. And that's what I always tell people. Like this, a couple promoters, like I said, cut me, and they're like, "Oh, we can't fuck with you." And I was like, "You know, that's
uh,
cool." But I told them at the end of the day, I know somebody's gonna see me and be like, "Oh, I can fuck with this fool. Like this fool's real. He's funny." And like I said, I'm a humble person. And like I said, I have goals. You know, people think, "Oh, you know, he's just gonna do that and that's it." But it's not. My to me, this is just my beginning. Because like I said, my story is a crazy story. You know, I went from juvenile hall to camp, YA. I was in a fucking mental home. Like I was all fucked up. I went through some shit. And what I want to ultimately use it is I want to transcend that bad experience to comedy, right? Because I'm making fun of it now. I'm talking about making funny shit in jail, different shit, right? Talking about
you got
drugs, all that.
a lot of material, huh?
Exactly. But my ultimate goal is to be a motivational speaker. Like I want to go up there and say speeches. Like I want to go to
Oh man.
colleges. You know, that's my ultimate goal is to be a motivational speaker, to go to like, you know, University of Cal State LA and these colleges and be able to go up to kids and tell them, hey, you know what? Like my ethnic background, my education, my just my even my social status is irrelevant. What is relevant is that I've overcame a
Yeah.
series of events that I shouldn't have overcame. And
Uh,
you, as graduates, are gonna deal with that same shit. Unpredictable. Life is unpredictable. But here I
wow.
am, like in front of you guys, like telling you guys anything is possible because here I am, you know. And that's my ultimate goal is to be like a motivational speaker and to speak in front of like huge crowds, you know, and I know I'm gonna get there, you know, because as long as I can keep a positive attitude and keep preaching, not even preaching, but just practicing what I preach, you know, and I
Yes.
feel somebody's gonna give me that break. It's gonna come, you know.
Oh man, I love it, man. I love it. I was going to ask you what motivates you at this point in your life, Victor. But it sounds like that's one of the motivations, man. Those your goals,
Yeah,
your vision. You know, the fact that you want to be a motivational speaker. That's something that I think that you would
yeah,
motivate. It probably motivates you, right? And obviously your family, your kids. Um, but
exactly.
what else motivates you at this point in life for you?
I just always like I said, there's different stuff that I learned, you know, and like I said, it's fucked up, but I learned like at a young age that I could always speak good. I mean, I might not be the smartest, I don't have a good education, I have nothing, but I've noticed even when I was in jail, people would kick it with me, and I would use my talent for bad, you know. I would rally up the troops and be like, hey, you know what, fuck it, let's hoop bang, you know. Even in
Uh,
camp, I'd be like, fuck that, let's go against this. So I little by little I started getting a passion for being that role model, that leader, you know. And even though it
uh,
was in a messed up situation,
the
I
skills were
started
there. The
thinking like,
skills were there.
exactly, I started thinking, what if I could use it for something positive, you know, all that
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
negative, you know. And you get a lot of good knowledge. Like people call me about certain crimes, and I'll be like, hey, you know what? Maybe you might want to kick back on that. You know what I mean? Don't do that kind of stuff, you know,
Uh,
because you
uh,
learn from experience. You know, you learn being around these people, and at the end of the day, like I said, it motivates me because I feel like I was listening to this motivational. I love listening to speeches, right? And one of my
yeah.
favorite speech is one called "Make Your Bed," you know, because most people, you know, they wake up in the morning, fuck my bed, I ain't gonna make that shit. But this speech tells you pretty much like it's a Navy SEAL speech, right? And they're talking about what how they prepare, right? And they're talking about these guys that are on the tall man crew, this guy, right? And the midget, there's you know, no disrespect to nobody short, but the
Uh,
people are called the little guys. Let's take the little guys, right? The little guys all the big
Or
guys would make fun of the little guys because of their flippers. But if you really, the whole point of the story is that he's saying, even though these guys were taller, stronger than the shorter guys always ran faster, swam faster, did everything faster, right? And he
uh,
says, never measure a guy by the sizes of his flippers. Measure that
mm,
guy by the size of his heart, you know?
mm-hmm.
And it just little things like that motivate me. Like I love listening to people who've gone through so much and can turn it around to a positive, you know, and speak to multitudes, because I feel like my story can hit, you know, because nobody thought I would be here. You know, I didn't think I would be here, you know, and now that I'm here on your platform and I've been on so many other platforms, I'm like, damn, like I never knew I was so interesting. I never knew, because you know, you grow up and everybody tells you ain't good for shit, you're only a jailbird. But
Yeah.
now that I'm in the spotlight and people look up to me and message me, I'm just like,
Uh,
damn, like I'm
it's
pretty
great,
interesting
man.
kind of guy, you know?
Yeah,
Crazy
no,
shit.
100. Yeah, man. You know, you hit it right on the head, Victor. I mean, yeah, you got a great story, man. You're like, I would love to see you out in the public speaking circuit, man, and the
Yeah.
motivational speaker circuit, telling your story, bro. That's one of, you know, you have a, you have all the credibility in the world, man, to be one to say, you know, hey, you know, you can turn your life around. You can do this,
Yeah.
whatever, you know, you set your mind to, and et cetera, man. So
Exactly.
I think
Exactly.
that's, yeah, man. What what's next for you, Victor, at this point, man? You know, how big do you want to take this comedy thing, and what are some goals that you have for yourself, man?
So pretty much my goal, what I'm working on different stuff, but I like I said, I'm always looking and listening to where I could expand myself and better myself, you know. So for one, I'm reading a book by Dale Carnegie. It's called How to Be How to Be a Better Public Speaker. You know, how to master
Oh,
the art of public speaking. Because
nice.
like I said, I want to be a public speaker. So I'm getting
Yeah.
ready now, right? And that's one. So I'm already working on that. I'm also working on because I was gonna have somebody write a book for me, and I was in the process of selling my story. But then I was like, you know what, like ain't nobody gonna be able to tell my story like mine, you know, like me. And I don't want nobody
Yeah.
switching something up, or you know, like I don't want none of that propaganda. I want it to be genuine, you know.
Mm.
And so I'm actually working on an audio book that I'm gonna release and do everything myself. So I'm
Oh
working on
shit.
that. Yeah, I'm gonna release it like,
Nice.
yeah, yeah. So it's just all stuff that I'm doing, and I'm starting off with a little $50 recorder straight out of my house, you know, with an iPad, and boom, you know. And I feel like people can learn from it, whether it's like, you know, people say, you know, you glorify that shit, but at the end of the day, I feel like some kid that's gonna do something stupid maybe could hear my story and be like, damn, you know, maybe like I
Yeah.
shouldn't take that path, you know, maybe just
Absolutely.
kick back, you know. But as far as my comedy, I want to go full force. You know, I want my ultimate dream is to go like either like Netflix or something like that. You know,
Mm.
just to be able to be not only mainstream, but to be able to say, hey, you know what, somebody from the hood made it, and just be able to mingle and give back to the, you know, the community. You know, give back to our culture. You know, whether it's, you know, my city, El Monte, whatever city. You know, just
Yeah.
if you're like me and been like me, whether you're black, white, or brown, like I'm gonna look out, you know, because that's who I am, you know.
Absolutely, man. No, I can't wait to see your journey continue, man, and ascend into the stratosphere, brother. It's gonna be fun to watch. And
Thank you, I appreciate it.
of course, man. No, man, you inspire me, brother. I appreciate you, man.
No, thank you for having me. Honestly, it's like I said, I love being on these places because you never know. It could be like you're saying, it could be on this one thing. What was it called, Ruko, or like somebody might. I didn't even know about
Ro-
that. You putting me up on game, you know.
oh yeah, yeah, Roku, man. I first time I mentioned this, and I haven't mentioned it anywhere on the Instagram or anything. And
Yeah, so I'm saying
yeah,
it's a new thing for everybody, you know. And like I said, it could be somebody who's having a bad day and be like, fuck, I'm fucking want to do this and that. And maybe hear
exactly.
my podcast and be like, or my segment and be like, oh shit, you know,
Yeah,
like I always tell people, don't think your life is bad because there's people who've had it worse, you know, or going through some more shit, you know.
yeah, man. No, it's I like the way your perspective is amazing, brother, and the way you frame
Thank
everything.
you.
You spin
Appreciate it.
everything. Yeah, everything's a positive with you, man, and And that's
You
hard to
try.
do,
You
man.
gotta
It's not
try.
easy to do.
No, it's not. It's not. It's
Yeah.
hard. Like I said, I'm human. I still got that person who I was in jail is still in me. I learned to deal with it. I deal with my demons. And like I said, I'm not perfect. I still battle addictions, alcoholism. I still have my flaws. But then again, who doesn't? That's how I always tell people. You might stop drinking, but then you become a workout fanatic, or you might stop being a hooker and then you become an escort. Just at the end of the day, you know how they say, be the best you could be. Fuck it. That's
One,
what I always tell people.
absolutely, man. I got some last couple questions here, man, before we go.
Yeah,
Uh,
let's do it.
I like to do this little rapid fire sometimes with my guests. So,
Yeah, shoot it.
favorite food?
My favorite food would be like dish. It would be huevos a la ranchera with salsa verde, like the tomatillo, with two
Mm-hmm.
enchiladas, rice and beans. Fire right
Mm.
there. I can eat that shit every day. Or torta de milanesa. Either of
Ooh.
those two. Fire right
Hey,
there.
you been to Tito's right there in South in Almani,
Oh, that's just fire. That's
right?
just fire as
Oh,
fuck. Yeah. First time I
damn.
tried it, I was like, God damn, so much flavor is coming out of this little ass store. Like, they got some fire up in there. That's good shit.
Oh yeah, bro. Favorite type of music?
Favorite type of music. I love a lot of different music because I love to dance. Anybody see me? I'm
Yeah,
always on
I
TikTok. I'm on all that bullshit.
I've
I
seen
love
you,
to
bro.
dance. Yeah, yeah. I love to be a kid. Like my daughters are into that TikTok shit, and I'm in that shit too. But I love funk. I love funk. Like I love anything that's gonna make me feel good. Cumbias, fucking. I like Juan Gabriel, all that shit.
Oh, I love
There's
all
days
that,
I'm
bro.
just pumping. Yeah, right. And
Hell
you're
yeah,
just one of those days.
dude. Favorite TV show growing up?
My favorite TV show growing up was Married with Children. That was my favorite show.
Oh,
I mean, I watched a lot of them, like the Wonder Years, Small Wonder, but I
oh
loved
yeah,
Married with Children. I felt like that pretty much molded everything. Simpsons, King of the Hill, everything. Everything
yeah.
was Married with Children.
That was it. You're right, man. You're right.
Yeah.
Favorite movie?
My favorite movie that I could watch like all the time would be Step Brothers. I love Step Brothers. That guy Gary Sanchez. He's a director, I think it is. I
Yeah.
love the movies he makes. The
Mm.
other guys, all the movies he's done, are funny as fuck. And I just love like the ending, because it's like funny, but then it gets to and it's weird, because they're like
Oh
hugging,
man.
they never
Yeah, yeah.
hug, and then Will Ferrell sings at the end. I love that fucking song at the end. I was just like, damn,
That's a classic movie, brother. In fact,
yeah, it's a good movie. You can never go wrong with that one.
hell yeah, man. And last one, bro. Favorite sports team?
Okay, so my favorite sports team, I gotta keep it gangster. I love the Raiders, man. I got into the
Okay.
Raiders thing, and I mean, even though we don't win a lot, and it's been like since 1983, but the way I always tell people when I go to
Hey.
comedy shows is like, if I'm a Raiders fan, I'm not gonna go to jail alone. There's somebody gonna go to jail with me. Motherfuckers is active. Oh
Oh,
yeah,
hey, man, you're loyal to your team, brother. Like the Dodgers
yeah, got it.
for a long
Loyal to the
time.
soil. Hell yeah.
Exactly, brother. Hey, man, I want to thank you again, Victor, for coming on and
Anytime, man.
your
Whenever you want
story.
me to come on, I'll come on anytime, dog. Ahí estamos.
I thank you, brother. And you know what, man? I mentioned to you that I might come out Friday. I totally forgot. I'm gonna be out of town, but
Okay, okay.
I'm gonna see you, man, live, man.
Yeah, yeah. Whenever you want to go to a show, let me know and I'll hook it up. I got you, bro.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. 100%, brother. 100%,
yeah.
man. So, real quick before you go, where can people find you? Go ahead and
Okay.
plug your stuff, man.
So my Instagram is Young Beavz Comedy. My Facebook, Young Beavz Comedy. My TikTok, Young Beavz Comedy. And this Friday, I'm gonna have a show in LA. It's all the info is gonna be in my Instagram, and the tickets are on Eventbrite. And this day, July 3rd, I'm gonna have a big old comedy show in the city of Ontario. It's called Mariscos Baja Grill. It's actually on in the city of Pomona, Ontario, right? All the
Yeah.
info is gonna be in my Instagram and Facebook también. But I'm gonna add a good little twist because you know how they have the prices, right? So I'm gonna do something for like the homies. I'm gonna call it the Cholo prices, right? And it's gonna be like
That's
me,
just,
Bob Barker, calling motherfuckers coming up and just having a
oh,
good time. It's gonna be good. I'm gonna have some good comedians. The seated entertainer is gonna be me. and they're gonna have funk music, DJs. It's gonna be cracking. And
Oh
then
yeah, man.
July 17th, I'm gonna have a show in Whittier. It's gonna be for the it's actually a event to sponsor East LA Sheriffs, and I took the event because I want people to see that, like people think I wouldn't perform for people like that, but at the end of the day, they're just like us, they just want to have a good time, release some stress. And I've
Yep.
done shows for cops, and it's a funny story. The first time I did it, I was like, "What the fuck? Who's the audience?" And they're all fucking Judas. I'm like, "God damn, I'm fucking loaded. I got a little bag. I got a bolsita right here." But they were cool as fuck, Like I don't have nothing against these dudes, man. As long as they pay me, it's a funny show. Fuck it,
That's it,
It is
bro.
what
It's
it is. Oh yeah,
100%, man. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, there you have Victor Zapata, Young Beavz
yeah,
Comedy. Check him out this coming Friday and beyond, man. He's got some really good shows coming up July 3rd, as he just mentioned. So go follow him. Go check out his
yeah.
TikTok, his
All that shit.
Instagram. Thanks again, Victor. I appreciate you, brother. You're always welcome back here, bro. Let's do
Oh,
this
yeah, anytime. Ahí estamos.
part 2, brother. Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
yeah. All right.
There,
Thank you for having me. You guys, everybody have a good night. Buenas noches.
absolutely. Have a good night, man. There you have it. Young Beavz, my man, Victor Zapata. Go check him out. Once again, thank everybody for tuning in here on YouTube. If you're listening on the audio platforms, if you're on Roku, Pod TV, thank you so much for checking in and checking out this podcast. So don't forget to leave a rate and review, all that good stuff. Follow me on Instagram. I love the feedback. We will see you guys next time here on Profile Pod TV with Double A. For Victor Zapata, always remember,
Oh yeah.
get eat.
Oh yeah.